Okay, so welcome everybody. This is the webinar for those of you who are interested in applying to the Masters in Machine Learning here at KTH. So let's introduce the people that will be helping with this presentation. So there's me, I'm Josephine Sullivan, and I'm an associate professor at KTH, and I'm the program director of the Masters in Machine Learning. And we also have Andrés. Do you want to say hello, Andrés?
Hello, everyone. My name is Andrés. Do you have my really long name over there? I'm basically a second-year student in the master's program in machine learning. I'm also the international student ambassador for the program. And I'm originally from Mexico City, and I came here last year. So welcome, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Andrés. Okay, so a little bit about myself. So in case you're trying to place the accent, I am from Ireland, in Dublin in particular. And I have a bachelor's in mathematics from Trinity College Dublin in Ireland, and I got my PhD in the Oxford University in the UK. I came to KTH quite a while ago, and I'm now currently associate professor at the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, and I have a specialization in computer vision and machine learning. I'm also have been program director of the Masters in Machine Learning for quite a few years. And if you do come to KTH, you'll see that I teach two courses at master's level, which is the program integration course in machine learning and a popular course in deep learning in data science. And my research interests are in computer vision, deep learning, and machine learning. And then André, I think he's told you a little bit about himself, but maybe he can add a little bit more.
Yes, as I said, this is in the introduction. Well, still in the introduction now, but I'm originally from Mexico City, to be precise. I graduated back in 2014, actually from a bachelor's that was back home, and the bachelor was in mechatronics, robotics, and automation engineering. As I said before, I'm currently on my second year in machine learning, so this is the third semester for me. I will still have another semester to go before I graduate, hopefully in time. I'm also working as a student ambassador for this particular program. There are student ambassadors for other programs that we'll talk about in the next slides. And some of my interests is within machine learning. Well, the music field, I'm very interested into that. I also at some point consider applying for a sustainability related master's program before I decided to go for machine learning. And recently I've been reading a lot about AI and the ethics around AI, which is also some of the things that we discuss in the program in the course that we have here. So
okay.
Yeah, that will be it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so just a little bit first about the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. Some of you who have done some homework, you may know that KTH has several campuses, but the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science is mainly based in the city campus. So it's in Stockholm, it's near Valhalla Vägen. So here is the picture, and the electrical school is sort of in the center of things. It's not a very far walk from the underground stop. So André, do you have anything to add? It's near to the city center, but it's also quite close to a nice forest. So you have sort of a nice mixture between urban and nature. Some of the EECS school is situated at Kista, which is a bit far out. And you have the potential to take some courses there if you want to. But if you don't want to go to Kista, then you don't have to go there either if you take this master's program. Okay, just to note as well that the School of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, its QS subject ranking in electrical engineering is 17, and it's 48 in computer science. So you can see we're a relatively highly ranked department with lots of different research efforts going on, as you can see from the pictures here. Here is a list of all the master's programs that are on offer by this school. And you can see there's quite a range of programs. Here's the machine learning program. So if after this webinar you feel you're not so interested in the machine learning, you have lots of other choices to investigate as well. Okay, so this is the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science School. Okay, so why would you want to do machine learning at KTH? So I would first say that we provide you, I think, with a very solid education. So we give you a very good grounding in the mathematical and statistical foundations of machine learning, but on the same hand, we also give you practical and programming know-how of machine learning and also experience of applying and adapting machine learning to different domains. So if you see that to be a good machine learning engineer or researcher, you need 3 sets of skills. You need programming skills, maths and stats knowledge and capabilities, and also experience of particular application domains where you're going to apply these skills and these programming skills. And we hope that we will give you courses and experience in each of these 3, and then at the end you will graduate as a very competent machine learning engineer or researcher. So our goal is that you graduate and hopefully you can solve new problems on real data. So you can adapt algorithms that you have learned about to solve maybe similar problems or to even new problems. So that's our goal. Secondly, network. The machine learning program at KTH is one of the largest machine learning programs in Europe. So this is a great chance to build a great network for your future and just to meet lots of different people who have a passion for machine learning. And then Stockholm. Stockholm's a very beautiful and fun city. You're close to nature, but an interesting city. And also it has a diverse set of technology companies and startups that exist here. So there's chances to do interesting work for your master's thesis within a company or to get a job after you complete your studies here. So André, how have you found living in Stockholm and studying here at KTH?
Well, I mean, I really came up with KTH because I was looking at other masters, and that's when machine learning got my attention. And after I did some research about, because I knew a bit about Sweden, but really not much about it. So the good thing about this particular master is that, first of all, I mean, it's a 2-year program, so I guess I'd rather do that instead of some other places that offer the 1-year program, and it's entirely taught in English, which is opposed in other countries. Some of the courses, there are some requirements for you to demonstrate the knowledge of a particular language, right? Here, everything is taught in English, so that's one of the reasons. And Stockholm, it's what can I say? It's a very vibrant city. It has a really nice waterfront, which I really appreciate. It's close to nature, so you can basically enjoy yourself outdoors, or you can also go and walk in the city if you're into that kind of stuff. Right now it's very dark, but that's expected, I guess, because of the latitude we're positioned at. But yeah, that's so far I think the city is great. It's a very welcoming city as well.
Okay, and I think compared to most cities, the bureaucracy is relatively well functioning. Or
yeah, the transport system is also well functioning as well, though. I mean,
okay.
It's easy to access the school as well, the campus.
Yeah, it's a livable city. Obviously, there's the weather. The winter can be tough if you're not used to having dark nights and long nights, but it's an experience. Okay. Okay, I would also like just to try and get you excited about machine learning. So what is machine learning? Some of you will have some experience and know that this is something that you want to study further, while some of you are maybe just more intrigued. But one good definition of machine learning is it's the science of getting computers to act without being explicitly programmed. So a very concrete example of this is, see here we have pictures of chairs, and say we put a camera on a robot and we say, we want the robot to recognize a chair. So just think to yourself, what were the rules that I would write down to define a chair? Is it that it has 4 legs or 2 legs, or that it has a horizontal part with a vertical backing, etc.? And then the next question is, how could you encode these rules in a computer program to recognize the image of a chair? And then that becomes even harder. And what people did, they tried to do things like this before the turn of the century or before the 1990s. And then they later realized that it's probably better to give the computer lots and lots of examples of chairs and then for it to extract and learn the rules itself. So that's what's been happening. So this is an example of a task where it's very hard for a human to define what something is. But if you give lots of an example to a computer, then it can decide upon itself what are the important things that define a chair. And as most of you probably know, machine learning is pervasive today. It's everywhere. We're all speaking to our phones and to our speakers, and this is machine learning, and especially a branch of machine learning called deep learning is responsible for this development in speech technology. So you also know now that if you surf on the web, there's lots of machine learning algorithms trying to show you the correct advertising or the correct movie that you're going to watch on next on Netflix, etc. But machine learning can also, of course, be used for lots of good beyond trying to get you to watch TV all day. And an example of this is that recently DeepMind and others have shown that AI-based screening of mammography. So this is where you look at the breasts of women and try to see if there's cancerous tumors or not, that you can get a machine algorithm to work extremely well and probably even better than the average radiologist. And this has been proven on 2 large clinically representative data sets from both the US and the UK. So this is quite exciting. So I think in the coming years, this will be a growth area as AI enters healthcare, making it more efficient and also hopefully more accessible to more and more people. So we will improve the standard of healthcare that everybody can get. And that's it's quite exciting to be potentially involved in that. Okay, so hopefully I've got you a little bit excited about machine learning. So now I'm going to go into the specifics of the program and its structure and the type of courses that make up the program. Okay, so at a high level, there are sort of 3 sets of courses that you can take. There will be the compulsory courses, and you mainly do those in the first semester that you take in year 1. So I should say at KTH, each year is divided up into 2 semesters, semester 1 and semester 2. And then each semester is then split into 2 periods. So in semester 1, you have period 1 and 2. And then in semester 2, you have period 3 and 4. So the compulsory courses generally, more or less, most of them take part in the first semester 1 of year 1. And then you have 2 groupings of conditionally elective courses, and you generally take those in the semesters 2 in year 1 and semesters 1 and 2 in year 2. And these conditionally elective courses, one set is a grouping of courses where they're called the application domains. And here there are courses where you try to solve real world problems of different modalities. But machine learning is a dominant technique that's used to solve these problems. And I will give an example just soon. And then there's the other set of conditionally elective courses are theory courses, and these are mathematics and statistical courses and also more theoretical machine learning courses. And then to complete a master's program at KTH, you have to do 120 credits. You have to get 120 credits. 30 of these will come from your final thesis project, and the remaining credits that you need to fill up to 120, you can take elective courses. And generally, you maybe have space for 2 to 3 elective courses, depending on the choices you have made for the conditionally elective courses. And these, you're free to choose any course on the KTH catalog. Okay, so let's have just a little closer look at the mandatory courses. So the first 2 are research methods course and a program integration course, which is based on you meet the other students from the program, you discuss topic choices and also ethical issues within machine learning. And also there's industry field trips. So we help you think about your career choices after KTH. And then there are 2 broad introductory courses in machine learning. Not completely trivial, but they are good to get a good overview of the field. These are in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we're very aware that quite a few of our applicants, or the people that we accept, some will have quite a bit of experience in machine learning, while others will have not so much. So if you have a question like, oh, I know very little about machine learning, yes, you're still very much welcome to join the program, and these courses will get you up to speed. Okay, and then in period 2, the other course that you take besides the 2 research methods courses and ethics course is the machine learning advanced course, and this is quite a technical mathematical course that moves quite a ways beyond the initial machine learning course. Okay. Then when you finish these common compulsory courses, the next thing is that you have to fulfill your conditionally elective courses. And you have to take at least 2 courses from the grouping of application domain and 2 from the theory courses. And then you have to take at least 6 courses from the union of these. So potentially, if you're more into the theory side, you can pick more theory courses. Whereas if you're into more applying machine learning to different problems, then you can take more courses in the application domains. And just to make this more concrete, here is here are the courses from the application domains that are on offer. So there's courses in computer vision with a computer vision focus, or language processing focus, or SAND, or visualization, or robotics, information retrieval, or computational biology. So André, I was wondering which conditionally elective courses have you been taking?
Yeah, I guess from the application domain, you go back a slide, I can ask a couple of that. Sure. The speech and speaker recognition, music informatics, also the deep learning data science, which is taught by you. So I also was part of that. And yeah, that will be the part of my application domains. I also already completed the other 2 that are meant for theory domain courses as well.
Okay. So did you do any fun projects or assignments in any of these courses?
Well, yes, I guess like that the most remarkable would be that in speech and speaker recognition, although it's oriented towards speech, but since you work with certain sound features that are related to music as well, my team ended up creating this classification of music genre with neural networks. But also, for example, in the deep learning data science, my team also worked with a COVID data set, which is basically analyzing X-ray images of COVID patients X-ray and say if they had COVID or not, and then try to extract some features and be able to tell concept-based explanations of those features. So yeah, those at least those 2, they were pretty interesting. I have done some others, but then I will never finish telling all my story.
Okay, so I should say that maybe different to other countries, the teaching at KTH, or at least the courses, there's a lot of coursework and group work and project-based work compared to. So you really do get your hands dirty, you play with the data, you find out what really works, what doesn't. So I think this is one of the strengths of the program. The admin people are going to get a little bit angry with me because I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Well, maybe not angry, but there's people, KTH staff and students online who are primed to answer any questions you have during this webinar with the chat functionality. And also at the end of this webinar, if you could stay on and we can answer questions in person afterwards. So I forgot to say that, but hopefully some of you are still here so that you can understand that. Okay. And then these are the theory courses. So as most of you will probably find out, when you do machine learning, what you always end up is with a big optimization problem regardless of how you do the modeling. So knowing about optimization is quite important, and it will strengthen your abilities as a machine learning expert. So we have courses in that, and then also statistics and probability. I don't know if there's any statisticians out there. They think that machine learning is probably just a rebranding of what they already know, but they have good courses as well, and they're available to you. And also machine learning courses that are not specific to any application domain, but lots of methods and way to do things. So these are on offer too. You should also notice that there are some project courses that are available as well. So if this gives you a little bit more flexibility about which topics you want to go into, and you can dive deeper into that as well, sort of in semi-self-study. We also have a set of recommended courses, and these you do not have to take, but we think that software skills are quite important if you want to become a useful and also competent machine learning expert. So there are some courses we recommend that you potentially can take. So the workload on you is that you should complete 30 credits per semester, and then that you should finish your coursework by the end of the first semester in your second year. And the goal is to be ready to start your degree project at the beginning of semester 2, year 2. So Andre, how much work, how has the workload been during year 1 and the first half of year 2? Do you have time to go out, or is it very easy or very hard, or somewhere in between?
I guess all depends on how experienced are you with everything, right? Because as I said, some people might come with a bit more experience on the programming side, or on the statistical side, on the math side. So I would say that independently it's very intensive, because there's a lot of project work going around. So most probably all your courses will be evaluated on project course. Some of them will be evaluated by a written test. But yeah, you will be putting a lot of hours into it. They're rewarding, yes, but and you have time to do your own stuff, of course. But this is a full-time master's program, so you're being expected to work. I would say that the 40 hours per week at least.
With some spikes at the end of each period.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
some pretty heavy spikes, absolutely.
So we should say that each course generally lasts 1 period. There's some courses that last over, the bigger courses last over 2 periods. And as Andrés said, at the end of each period, you have an exam or a project that you have to complete to pass the course. So this is how it generally works. Okay. And so when you do your degree project, this is what you do in the final semester of your studies. And here I just have listed some of the companies where students have recently completed them. So this is just a snapshot of some of them. So some of the names you should probably recognize, like Spotify, Sony, Saab, Ericsson. So these are sort of big, large, well-established companies, and they generally have a very structured procedure for you apply for a thesis project there. They're usually quite competitive. They have some of them have interview processes, and then they choose some subset of people that have applied. But then there's also sort of more medium-sized companies. So for instance, like Tobii here, Pro here, is not huge, but it's not small either, and they do eye tracking. And then we have some startups. So for example, Universes that does stuff in 3D vision, and for self-driving cars, a consultancy company here they hire master's thesis students as well. So I should also say that these companies cover a range of industries. So there's the music, for instance, Spotify, and then Soundtrack Your Brand, which is actually a spin-off startup from Spotify, and then Epidemic Sound, or you had advertising or banking. So we have SEB here, which is a bank, or medical, so Electa and Research, they do medical applications. And then there's quite a few consultancy, then there's the gaming, so King Digital Entertainment here, and then Seed, which is a research group sort of run by electrical EA, by electrical arts. So you can see there's quite a wide range of companies where students do their thesis project, and there's a very wide range of industries or areas that they're covering. So this should be exciting for you. So there should be a company or a niche that suits your interests. I should also say that many degree projects are also completed within research groups KTH or their collaborators, like say for instance KI and things like that. So that's another option as well. I would say the majority of students do it at a company, but yeah, but those maybe, especially those who are interested in doing PhD studies, maybe they do it more within KTH, but not exclusively. I've hired people to do complete PhDs with me, and they do their thesis projects at companies. So it depends on what you want to get experience of. I think if you do want to go out into the working world, then it's probably good to experience your thesis project at a company. Whereas if you want to do a PhD, maybe doing it at a research group is a trial run to see if it suits you or not. Okay, and then just for future reference, and maybe you can get the slides later on so you can have a look. This is sort of the name, these are the titles of recently completed thesis project. So I just wanted to reiterate the point that there's lots of different thesis projects. There's a wide range of diversity, and a lot of companies are interested in seeing how they can use machine learning to improve whatever they do. Okay. Just to say, how do you find a degree project? So in general, it's your responsibility to find the thesis project. You see this as a good learning experience. You're going to have to find a job after you graduate, or an academic, if you're looking to continue your studies, you're going to have to find that. And this is a good learning experience. But you do get help in the matchmaking process. So every year there's a degree fair where companies exhibit and you can go and talk to them. So André, did you participate this year in the degree fair?
Yes.
Which companies did you, or can you give an example of the companies that you talked
to? So for example, in this last degree fair, you had a Volvo, you had I think, well, there were also Normata, but you had also Scania as well in those particular degree fair days. They're usually held, I mean, they're usually held, I think, at Chista, but this particular year everything's been done online because we all know about the current situation, right? So it's been, I mean, everything's being handled differently this year. It's been slower, if I will be able to say that, at least from what I saw last year for other degree fairs. But yeah, I mean, in any case, if you're thinking of applying to the program, hopefully in 2 years this is going to be in a better shape, right? But yeah, there are a lot of companies in Portals to find a project.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the big companies exhibit there, and then you get details of how you actually apply to a thesis project at that company. So that this is very good to do. There's also the KTH degree portal where companies advertise their position, and then also the electrical engineering and computer science school advertises the degree projects going to offer by the professors in the school. So there's a link to that. So we help with the matchmaking process, but it's sort of your job to find a good connection. Okay, so what is happening at machine learning at KTH? So I should say here is an example. Here are the publications at NeurIPS, which is actually happening this week, 2020, from KTH with with authors from the school. I should say I have one here, and actually my student David will be presenting the poster just right after this. So I'll probably go and join him after this presentation. I should say that there's the strong areas where we have strong research groups are in robotics, reinforcement learning, computer vision, sort of geoinformatics, satellite image analysis, and medical image analysis, and speech and music synthesis. I should say that this is not an exhaustive list, but this is maybe my biases because this is what I work in or have close colleagues that work in as well. But there's quite a few people who have good research profiles sort of internationally in these areas. Okay. And also, I thought it would be interesting to show what graduates of the program, sort of the highlights of what they've been up to. So this paper here, which is actually by one of my PhD students, he's a graduate of the program. He wrote 1 millisecond face alignment with an ensemble of regression trees. So this is where you, the task is to localize or to predict where lots of facial landmarks are in an image, and he came up with a method that was very accurate but also very quick. And as you can see, this was actually implemented then in quite a widely used C++ library for computer vision methods, dlib, and lots of people actually use it. So, and it has lots of citations, nearly 2,000 citations, which is quite a lot in this world. And also it was used to drive Snapchat's facial graphics. I don't know if that's still true, but at least for several years, it was the basis of Snapchat's facial graphics. So that was one graduate. Another graduate, Rubo 2, he graduated from the program in 2018 and is now a PhD student at KTH. He is also presenting a paper he co-wrote with authors from KTH and also other institutions, which you can see here with the logos. And he will be presenting this at NeurIPS this week as well. So it's about how do you fair decisions fare in long-term qualifications, and this hits upon the ethics in AI. So the idea of this paper is that you have lots and lots of people applying to your position, and you would like to hire the qualified, you would like to detect who are the qualified and the unqualified people for this position. You don't know that a priori, and also you would like to not bias against any part of the population that you're hiring at. And the only data that you have available to you is information such as gender, their height, their experiences in a very crude way, like have they had a similar job before? And then you want to build a machine learning algorithm that will either say, yes, this person is qualified, or no, this person is not qualified, and to do this in a fair way. So there are ways to try and do it, but then the problem is, let's say, as time goes by, some of the people that you accepted or as marked as qualified might become less qualified because they mightn't like the environment of the job, they might be demotivated, or they might get better. And similarly for the people that you rejected, maybe they get more experience, so they get better. So as time goes on and people grow and their skills changes and their interest changes, how do you decide how to make fair decisions as people's profiles change over time? So this is, and also there may be less qualified people because you've already hired them. So this is what this paper deals with, and this is a collaboration with universities in America as well. So this is just to highlight that graduates of our program, they do very interesting things, and they have gained the skills to do these interesting things from the courses that we have taught them and the interactions that they have had with professors during the program. Okay, so that's, hopefully you get an idea of what's in the program and what you should be able to do after you finish the program. Now we're going to focus on the admissions process. Okay, so here in this figure, or in this slide, we show what are the basic requirements that you need to have. So you need to have a bachelor's degree. You obviously may be just in your final year, but we need to know that you will have graduated by the time the master's program starts. You need to have a proficiency in English, and obviously that corresponds to TOEFL scores, etc. And you need to have shown that you have the specific program requirements, and on the next slide I will show what these requirements are for the machine learning program. Okay, so these are the requirements sort of from the qualifications. There's also fees. So for the non-EU and non-EEA and Swiss citizens, then you need to pay for the application and you need to pay tuition fees. So the application fee is 900 Swedish crowns, and the tuition fee here is 310,000 Swedish crowns for most programs. Okay, the machine learning entry requirements, these requirements are specified because we feel these are the skills that are needed that will enable you to complete the program. Okay, so this is why we have them. They're not an arbitrary threshold that we have. It's more, we think these are the skills that you need to have to be able to cope with the workload and the content of the program. So you need to have taken or passed courses equivalent to you need to have a course in linear algebra, calculus in one or several variables, probability theory and statistics, programming, and algorithms and data structures. So these are the skills that you need to have. So you need to show you have competent past courses and that you have the competences that implies. Okay, the material that you need to submit with your application, a letter of motivation explaining why you're interested in the program and your suitability, letters of recommendation in English, please, because quality of the letters is much more important than the quantity. So please get professors or bosses who have worked closely with you and know your qualities. And bosses in general should be people where you have done research internships, etc. So André, who did you get to write letters of recommendation for?
So in my case, I provided one from my academic background, from a director in my previous program from my bachelor's, and I also get one from the professional background. It was not particularly a boss, but it was actually a peer of mine that I collaborated with, and we ended up co-authoring a paper.
Okay. Yep, I mean, somebody who has competency and knows your skills quite well, so you believe when they say that André is an amazing programmer, so that they have some heft. So what they say holds some weight, and that you can believe these statements. So this is what you're looking for. Curriculum vitae. This is not this is optional, but I would say that it actually, when I'm reviewing an applicant, this actually helps a lot, because sometimes it's a great format to present your achievements and experiences in a clear and concise way. So it gives me a good snapshot and overview of the applicant. And also the summary sheet. So we use summary sheets for the initial rough ranking of applicants. So please carefully fill it in. If you don't fill it in at all, we probably won't review your application, because it's too hard to we get over 1,000 applications, and we're not that many looking at all the applications, so we have to automate a little bit, and we use the summary sheet information for this automation. Okay. The three main assessment areas are your grades. So when I look at the grades, I'm obviously look at the average GPA, but I also do look at sort of the mathematical and technical courses and their grades, because this is quite important to me, and the programming wants to see you have the competency there. And obviously we want you to have good language skills, so we would like you to be quite competent in English. The other next area is the university, so ranking, so mainly QS and Times, but also maybe Shanghai. I also try to look at the national ranking, because I know some of you may be from countries that potentially don't have very highly ranked universities, but there could be good universities, or you've gone to the most prestigious university in your country, and I don't expect people to do more than that, because so this is, and also I look at subject ranking as well. So if you go to a technical university, it might not be so highly ranked in the university rankings, because the technical universities that don't do humanities arts sometimes have a lower ranking just because of that. And there's also the KT collaboration universities. And then the third is the motivation, and this is a capture all. So your work experience, and especially your relevant work experience, your scientific experience, have you done an internship in a research lab, your written motivation, and also the letters of recommendation. So all of these carry quite a bit of weight. I would say maybe the letters of recommendation and the motivation are crucial. I mean, the letter of recommendations, because that's an independent assessment of your abilities and suitability for the program. So that's quite important. So I generally put quite a bit of weight on that. Okay, so this, as I said, this is a competitive program to gain entry into. Most applicants who are offered a place, they have good to great grades, especially in the technical subjects. They come from a good to great university. So either it's prestigious internationally or nationally. They have good to great letters of recommendation, and they show very concrete evidence of their interest in machine learning. So it's rarely are the highly ranked applicants just good in all dimensions. So this is what I should say. So just to say, in the motivation letter, please do not write pages and pages. If you write 10 pages, it won't be read. So be short and precise. And what are the things? Mention the things that make you a strong candidate. So, and also maybe give context to us who are reviewing your application. If your grades are not very high, but you were the best in a class in some in a very relevant course, you know, highlight that. You know, maybe your university has very strict grading criterion, so they never give over 85%. Tell us that, so your grades of 70% is really good. Yeah, maybe your university does not have a high international rank, but it's very competitive to gain entry and is the best engineering or technical university in your country. You know, and have you done any extra things? So, Andre, did you write any? What did you put in your letter of motivation?
So if I recall correctly, because that was some time ago, but what I did write about is, as I said, it was short and precise. So there are some instructions on the website, but it should be longer than a page. Oh, 500 words should suffice.
Yeah.
And I specifically didn't write about my grades, but I did write that I had been working in the automotive industry for 5 years, and what I had done there. I had worked with data. Also, I talked a bit about how the paper that I co-authored, it's published in a journal. Just that sort of stuff that becomes relevant to the actual program.
Yep. Thanks. So so this is all right. So when you do graduate from this program, I should say that this program is a good basis for doctoral studies in many areas like machine learning, artificial intelligence, computer vision, speech technology, etc. You will have lots of choices. And then it's also a good basis for employment in industry, and a lot of these industries are based in Stockholm as well. So here I've just made put a list of some of the companies that some of our graduates have worked at. So I should have said before is that because this program is large and it's been going on now for almost a decade, is that we have quite a few alumni now, and we have quite a large network, and there is a brand associated with this machine learning program. So that's good. Okay, I should say that now it's a high demand for machine learning graduates at the moment in many sectors. So obviously it's still competitive to find an interesting job, but you should not have too many problems finding a job, and one that's interesting as well. This program does have some similarities to other KTH master's programs, in particular the data science track of the computer science program. So why should you take this program compared to others? I would say that all the course requirements on this program are aligned to machine learning. So they're aligned, but you also have quite a bit of choice. We don't make you take tracks. You can decide if you want to be more theoretical or more practical in the course choices that you make. Our program integration course is more relevant. You go on industry visits to companies that have a machine learning focus. We're a large program, so lots of interactions with many students from all over the world with a passion for machine learning. And also it's a high profile program within Sweden and Europe. Okay, now for some practicalities. We might, you might think we have a great machine learning program, but is it practical to live in Sweden? So here are the estimated cost of living in Sweden. This is per month, and these are given by the Swedish Migration Board. And these are the numbers that they come up with. So they're estimating somewhere between 7,000 and 11,000 crowns per month. Andre, do you think this is a bit of a low estimate, or is this a realistic, or is this a little bit too low?
No,
or is
I think it's
or is this for the lifestyle of a monk? Yes.
exactly. No, I think it's pretty realistic. I would say that probably the travel card now costs a bit more. We're talking about 50 crowns more, but it's pretty much in the range. Yeah, the accommodation is usually the most expensive part of it, because I mean that's one of the benefits coming as a student, but still Stockholm, it's quite competitive in housing. So yeah, you can pay some really hefty prices if you're unlucky. And if you're really lucky, maybe you pay the lower end, but I don't know many people that actually pay that. Yeah, basically that should account for all your living costs on a monthly basis. If you're if you're a student that is not from Europe or non-EU or EEA or Swiss, then you'll have to demonstrate with the immigration agency a certain amount, which is, if I remember, in the ballpark of 8,500 crowns per month. So even if that's the estimated cost of living, you will have to demonstrate that you have that amount available. But yeah, it's still, I guess it's in between the range, right?
Yeah. Okay, so we think you could live on this, but it might be you may have to be very careful if you wanted to live.
Yeah, not spending lavishly, definitely.
That rate. And also, I think for many people, the cost of food and going out is probably a little bit of a shock when you come here. But,
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Extra work as an international student, yes, you could. I mean, Andre is not here just for the love of machine learning and the program. He is working as a student ambassador, which is a paid position. So there are jobs to be picked up at KTH as teaching assistants, etc. You can probably also work, but this is a full-time program, so it's quite hard to work many hours outside of the studying hours. Or do you have a comment on that?
Well, yeah, I would just add, as you said, that it's supposed to be full-time. So even if you're allowed to work part-time, it's gonna eat up your life pretty easily. So yeah, do take into account that you're supposed to come here to study. You can work as well, but not on a similar not a similar hour count, let's say, for the studies. So just be aware of that.
Okay. So the next slide, I think Andre is more an expert on this than I am. So this is all the social media places that you can get information. I'll hand over to Andre.
Yeah, well, I'll just add that, as I said, like I do love communicating with you people, but yeah, this is part of my job. I'm an international student ambassador, and it's a paid position at KTH. It pays you on an hourly basis. But anyway, this is me, but this is for the machine learning program. There are some other student ambassadors for every single program that's offered at KTH, at least the official programs are KTH. But I mean, you have a way to contact us and ask us about our studies, about how's life here in Sweden, how has been the whole situation here treating me so far, my experience with the application process, so on. I would definitely ask you to not refrain, but just if you ask me specific questions about the application process, I'm not gonna be able to help you out because I'm not part of the admissions office, so I do not take part in of that application process. And not only I'm not allowed to tell you information, but I'm gonna end up just redirecting to the official email account for the program. So that being said, you can also look for some other information, as Justin said, in social media. You can subscribe to the KTH newsletter. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, so on social media. Most of the Western side, on the Chinese side, you have the Weibo and WeChat. So yeah, I mean, if you want to keep in contact with KTH, there are multiple ways to do that.
Okay, so now I think we're on more or less the last slide, which is the key dates and the scholarship opportunities that you have. So the application deadline is on the 15th of January 2021. You have to pay your application fee by February 1st of February, and also all your supporting documents you have to upload into there's one central area for applying to any master's program in Sweden. So there's one portal, so you do that, and then you have to upload all your supporting documentations to there on February the 1st. You have to also have proof of your English proficiency on February the 1st as well. So these are sort of the dates that you have to hit if you want to have a valid application to the program. And for those of you who are outside the EU, EEA, and Switzerland, there are some scholarship opportunities. I realize the fees are actually quite large. So for some of you, this may be the main opportunity for you to make it financially possible to come. So there are some KTH scholarships available. There are not huge numbers, but there are some. And I would say that every year there are between, let's say, 3 to 5 students on the program are awarded one of these. So the deadline for that is the 15th of January as well. For those of you who are from India, there's the KTH India scholarship. And I would also say that we've had several students on the program who get this as well, who are awarded this as well. And that's the 15th of January 2021. And then there is also the Swedish Institute scholarships for global professionals. And those dates for applying to those are between the 8th and 18th of February. The notification of selection results from university admissions on the 9th of April 2021. So this is when you find out whether you have been accepted or not. I think most of the scholarships you will actually, if you've been accepted as on a scholarship, you will find out a bit earlier as well. Okay, so I think that's all that we have, all the slides that we have, except for one final one. We maybe have some time for a few questions now, but after at 5 o'clock, the chat will be open and you can ask more questions here. But do we have time to take a few questions live?
We do. Thank you,
Okay.
Josephine and Andrés, for the presentation. First question, is it possible to combine machine learning with courses in sustainability?
You can take courses in sustainability as elective. That's definitely possible. Yeah, so this is what's possible at the moment. We hit in the program integration course, we talk about sustainability. We explore some of the issues. It's not a whole course, so it might be just a small module within that. But at the moment, you would take them as elective courses. There are plans in the future to potentially integrate more sustainability courses, but that's maybe not relevant for the people. You might be coming to KTH too soon for that to happen now.
One student is wondering, what is the biggest challenge for students within the program?
Academically or socially? Okay, so I should say that we have the people who come to the program, some have a more computer science background. So sometimes the more mathematical courses can be a problem for them. And then vice versa, we have students that come with more mathematical background and they're not used to programming so much. So it can be more of a struggle for them to come up to speed with the programming. But this is the good thing if we have a diversity of backgrounds within the program, is that students actually learn quite a bit from the other students in the program. So that's what happens. So other problems, yeah, I think that's sort of the most common one is that maybe you're a little bit more deficient in one area than you thought, but so that means you have to work a little bit harder to catch up or to acquire the skills. But in general, if we've accepted you for the program, we think you can bridge whatever gap there may be. So, yeah.
Andrés, what would you say from a student perspective?
If I had to add something that's not related to the academic part, as Justin said, I would say that it's always a challenge. I mean, you can go through different phases, like a honeymoon phase and everything when you move somewhere else. So it's a very welcoming environment, but still you're gonna be living abroad, so you gotta be prepared for that. You gotta be prepared to basically live on your own and do your own stuff on your own time. I mean, eating out, being social, actually hanging out with people, not dedicating yourself only to studies or what you call math. I don't know, maybe you even have to get used to the seasons, because at least for people like closer to the equator, actually seeing snow or the days getting shorter, it never really crosses your mind until you're here, so you have to deal with that accordingly. I would say that I would recommend actually that you follow the bloggers of KTH, because they often write about this kind of stuff, and they pinpoint stuff that you should be reminded of, and those tips and tricks can come in handy.
Great. Another student is wondering, are internships part of the program?
Not explicitly, but I know that, say, the division that I'm part of, Robotics Perception and Learning, we have an internship program, but it's maybe on the order of 8 to 10, and maybe 50% of those are from the machine learning program and stuff. So this is, I mean, I know that a lot of the students do some sort of internship during the summer break between year 1 and year 2. And yeah, they either work or they go do some research somewhere. So this is, did you know your friends or colleagues that did some interesting work during the summer? Obviously the summer is a little bit different compared to other ones, but this is, did you work or did you
myself?
Andrés,
No, I actually for once I decided to take a break, because I had been working nonstop since 2014. So so I did look for internships, but also some of the offers basically fell off because of the whole pandemic was starting. So I said, okay, this is more some sort of a signal that for me to you can take a break, right? Like you can now have a free summer. But I do know a lot of people that were part of internships and decided to either have an internship here in Sweden or just go somewhere else and have it. So yeah, it's entirely possible, but a summer break.
Yeah, but I suppose maybe you have to. It's on you to try and find it. I think this is
absolutely, yeah. It's it all depends. If you can always say like, yeah, I want to travel abroad or whatever. Yeah, of course you can do that.
Okay.
Another common questions that we often receive is if it's difficult studying at KTH without knowing the Swedish language.
Most people don't learn much Swedish, so So there may be some administration stuff, maybe when you sign up for the tax authority and things like that, but the general level of English in Sweden is high. So, and at KTH, all the courses are in English at master's level, so you function just fine. I mean, obviously, it'd be great if it's great if you learn Swedish, because then that obviously helps interaction with the other Swedish students, but they will obviously speak good English. So this is,
you can get by as a student.
Yeah, you obviously lose out a bit, and a lot of students take a Swedish course. I should say that you can count language courses towards your elective, they count as elective courses and part of your degree program, or so that's 120 credits, so you can do that, and maybe that helps some people. They don't like being somewhere where they don't speak the language, but you can function just fine not speaking Swedish.
If I may add something, I think it's pretty important that There are some offers by KTH. Of course, you have the courses that account for your ECTS total amount, but there are some other offers, especially for non-European students, and those doesn't really count for your credits. But they're still offered by KTH, and you can still learn the Swedish language. Otherwise, you can take the SFI alternative, which is also an option. I mean, it's not, as Josephine said, it's not entirely mandatory. It's not really something that you should do in order to survive here. But there are, I've seen some companies, especially in the recent job fairs, that they do post that they will rather have someone maybe not speaking fluently Swedish, but at least they know some basic knowledge about it. So it's something that's always worth knowing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it will improve your experience, but it's by no means necessary for the 2 years that you study. I think that's
exactly.
Thank you very much. I think that's
or improve your
all the
social,
time.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry, Josephine.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's. To be honest, I don't think speaking Swedish will improve your, taking the academic courses, but it would improve your social, like just integrating more into the general society, and maybe help. I mean, the Swedish students speak good English, but maybe you will get to know them better if you speak Swedish. So that's.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for the presentation. I think this is all the time we have left for the live session, but like you said, the chat is open for 1 more hour. And Andrés, you will also move over to the chat support team.
Yes, I will be supporting there for the next hour or so and join the other people. So if you still have some questions far away, we'll make our best effort to support those.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so I should stop the screen share.
You can do. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Josephine and Andrés.
You can leave the webinar. Okay, bye. And I look forward to reading your applications for those of you who end up deciding to apply. Okay, and then maybe even meeting some of you next year. All right, and good luck. Okay, bye-bye.